The Single European Act was the next treaty signed. The number of nation-states increased, as amongst others Great Britain and Ireland joined. QMV was again extended, which resulted in a loss of national vetoes in the area of the single market. This weakened their sovereign lawmaking powers of the member states. The Act also laid the basis for a united European foreign policy, which signalled the plan to build the EC as a political union instead of trade partners. The next step towards a politically and economically united Europe came in February 1992, when the Maastricht Treaty was signed. The European Union and the three-pillar structure was born. Laid down in the first pillar was the framework to introduce a European-wide currency, the euro, and was made from the structure built out of the merger treaty. The second pillar was the common foreign and security policy, which was put forth in the Single European Act. The third pillar signalled the attempt to harmonise laws agreed on, giving the EU the ability to issue European arrest warrants. Again, national vetoes were removed, as the European Union were given more powers to legislate over the nation-states, and a European Central Bank was created. The slow march towards a European federal state continued as the Treaty of Amsterdam was signed in 1997. This amended the treaties of Paris, Rome and Maastricht. This was said to allow expansion for more countries to join. The EU now had powers to legislate on member states' immigration, although the UK, Ireland and Denmark had opt-outs. This meant that the European Union now had direct effect on EU citizens' rights. More national vetoes were removed, and QMV was added to 14 new areas, including data protection and employment. Next came the Nice Treaty, signed in 2001. The main purpose of the treaty was said to reform the structures of the institutions to facilitate the eastward enlargement of the EU. The main argument of the Nice Treaty, like most treaties, is that national democratically elected governments are continually being weakened by unelected bureaucracy. The Nice Treaty initially failed in a referendum in Ireland, but after some changes and a big media campaign from the main political parties, Ireland passed it a second time round. The final piece of the puzzle was put in place in Rome in 2004, when the European Constitution was signed. This created all the trappings of a newly born country. This single document replaced all previous treaties and eroded national sovereignty. The legal personality the EU created meant that the EU now had the same legal rights of a person. It also meant it was allowed to enter into internationally binding agreements with a single signature. this power is held by the position of the President of the European Council. The Constitution then had to be ratified by every member state of the EU. However, both the Dutch and French public voted against the Constitution, meaning that the treaty was unimplementable. This brings us to the Lisbon Treaty. Signed on the 13th of December 2007, this amends the treaties rather than replacing them with a single document. The government has gone against its manifesto promise of a referendum because it claims they are completely different documents. Critics claim that 90% of the Constitution is hidden in the treaty. The government went ahead and started to ratify the document in Parliament instead of through a national-wide referendum. Results of the treaty show they plan to reduce the Commission to 15 members. This means it is possible for Great Britain to be without representation in the only body that has legislative initiative for a 5-year period. This incredible fact has rarely been mentioned by the government. Another worrying prospect is the Lisbon Treaty is also self-amending. This means that it is probably the last chance of a referendum, because they will not need further treaties to change EU laws. They can also remove any national vetoes without consulting the governments or the people of the member states. They can legally change it without permission. The people I spoke with, and some MEPs, had a big problem with the treaty, as they believe that the Constitution has been rewritten in the Lisbon Treaty in order to bypass a public vote.
Mr. President, what the European Parliament is engaged in here today with this debate and subsequent vote is nothing less than a massive exercise in deceit. A pack of lies are being told, and they are being told because you do not want the peoples of Europe to have the referendums that you promised them. It is the imposition of the will of the political class upon the citizens. We all know the truth. The Lisbon Treaty is the same as the EU Constitution. Exactly the same number of new competences. Exactly the same number of surrenders of veto. It is virtually identical in every regard. And it is constitutional because it gives this European Union a full legal personality, but worse still, it gives it the ability to amend itself in the future without having to refer to more intergovernmental conferences. It gives the EU the ability to legislate over literally every single aspect of our lives. I am told, though, I shouldn't worry because the flag and the anthem have been dropped. Well, pull the other one. There is a great big flag at the front there. It is nonsense. It is all part of the lie. The truth is that you are too chicken to have a referendum. You don't want to hear the voice of the people, and now you resort to totalitarian means to get this treaty through. We heard Danny Cohn-Bendit say that those that oppose this treaty are mentally ill. We heard Mr Schulz say that those of us that objected to the sheer dishonesty of this project were behaving like Nazis back in the 1930s. Well, I think the ordinary, decent citizens of Europe will work out for themselves who the extremists are.